enough to you.
Hello and welcome to Eastern Marshlands, an evening with comrades. Tonight we have the Quaranteam with myself, Dipdap, Theo.
Hello.
Königsmark.
Hello.
And Senna.
Hello! I'm totally not coughing. I'm not dying. I don't have the coronavirus. It's just left over from something I got earlier and having to clean a whorehouse. I had fun!
I'm going fucking insane in my house.
Same.
I'm going fucking crazy.
I have not really changed my lifestyle.
I'm used to
Well,
going
I
crazy.
also not changed my lifestyle, but I'm still going crazy because
Because, like, it's
I'm
not-
always
not-
going
it's
crazy.
not the prospect of being at home, it's the prospect of not having the option to leave.
Well, for me, it's the prospect of being at home with other people.
Yep, same.
No, but like I actually do still have to leave fairly regularly because I have the best immune system, and well, we need to eat.
Mm.
So I'm the one that goes to shop and whatnot.
Can we get a poggers in the chat from Elspeth Dykstra?
Oh my god.
Poggers. Alright, so
funny meme.
you had something to start off with, Theo?
Yes, so the response to the virus has been, mostly fairly competent, actually, where we live. It's like, don't go outside unless you have to and whatnot. Don't, go places. You don't have to, only go outside to buy shit. Don't fucking, go fucking traveling. Wash your hands. Wash your hands and wash your fucking hands. And,
Wear a mask.
yeah, both the government and, opposition has been fairly, good with that, with one exception. And that's the far right, of course, the FPÖ. Hold on. I need to find the quote because it's actually amazing.
This shit is just baffling.
Okay,
There's more going
the
on.
far right essentially advocates a position of, that meme that, people were pulling around that's kind of the official UK position.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, one of the media representatives for the FPÖ said in an interview that you should get yourself infected and, to get an immunity.
The Boris Johnson response?
Yeah. And he said that, and the government issued an executive order to tell him to not say that in interviews. So it's literally a government order to shut the fuck up. So that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty fucking good.
Other than that, one state of ours, Vorarlberg, which is just crypto Switzerland, has 4 districts in that state are now under actual quarantine. You cannot enter or leave without a special permit because that was the infection hotspot, and it has so far stopped it from spreading to Tyrol, or rather spreading larger to Tyrol. There are a few cases in Tyrol. Other than that, most of what we have coming in are from Italy and Germany. Now, what Germany has decided, it would be a wonderful idea to respond to this virus, is to do nothing and to condemn and yell at anyone who does anything, because they're ruining the European economy.
The Merkel
So,
response.
yep.
I mean, this isn't like
Lower
the
sounds
typical
fine,
Merkel.
because the clicking.
What were you saying, Königsmark?
This isn't even like the typical Merkel response because this is surprisingly stupid even for Merkel.
Yeah.
Oh
This is-
yeah.
This is the panic, the extremely panicked response, which if
Well,
we
because they
pretend
know-
that we are not scared shitless, then it will go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like also, how to put this? Essentially, Merkel is under the impression. Well, no, I'm not. She knows that German power in Europe is precedented on the economy. The
Mm-hmm.
economy collapses. German hegemony over Central and Eastern Europe will be kind of history.
Hmm.
You know, because you know why Germany was so vehement about not wanting Greece to default, because then they would lose
Everyone could, and they would lose their
Yeah.
leverage.
Now, if the economy, the general European economy collapsed, well, everyone would kind of default. Debt reshuffling would stop, and that
Yeah.
would hurt Germany and France. The French response has been funny because the only people that have actually done anything are the protesters.
Spanish response has been delayed, but at least something.
Yeah.
They have nationalized the health industry and are like making moves.
Yeah, but also Spain is still the third highest new cases spot in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah. Still better late than America.
better than
never.
trying to tell the virus to go home.
Better than doing what
Deport the virus.
One of the Fox people was saying that she wanted to have like a definite date for the end. She wants to fucking speak to the virus's manager. I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore.
The German response reminds me of, I think it was the Louis XVI or the last Tsar, who was like, okay, we're gonna talk to the peasants in like a different voice, and they're gonna hear that and they're gonna listen.
I'm gonna use my speaking voice.
Yeah, like if you're gonna like being calm in a hectic situation is good, but it will not
Pretending the
solve.
hectic situation does not exist is like the opposite of being calm. It's a form
Yeah.
of panic.
Yes.
And like, hold on, I actually need to get this up. This has caused some very interesting political developments in Austria to happen, because the Conservative Party, who is your average, hold on. Yeah, the Conservative Party has been, you know, they're your typical Central European Christian conservative, yada da yada da yada da. And like now, within like a few weeks, they have switched from "we need to save money" to us to. This is a directly translated quote from one of the main representatives of the party. Austerity has been the most devastating policy for the Austrian people since the end of the Second World War.
Holy shit.
And they have defended, like, they actually had to defend the LGBT community from the far right, who essentially wanted to use the, like, because the FPÖ was like, oh, you see, ban on assembly. That obviously means we need to ban all of these LGBT groups because they're obviously spreading the virus. And the conservatives were like, no.
They're assembling.
Yeah. And it's like...
I can't believe they figured out the ancient LGBT secret of us gathering together to kill people with viruses. Like, goddamn.
I mean,
Sounds-
I can't believe
so.
they figured it out. Like,
I mean, that's kind of the AIDS conspiracy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
oh yeah, but like, the fact that people actually believe shit like that, it's just, I'm sorry, you're dumb.
I know why this is happening to the Conservatives. It's because the Conservatives have basically stabbed themselves in the back so many times and have turned around so many times that they have no positions left. So the only positions that this government is able to take is the left-wing positions of the Greens, their coalition partner. So instead of what usually happens with coalitions like these, instead of the Greens moving right, the Conservatives, the ÖVP, is having to fucking shift hard left.
I mean, this is basically what has happened to the Democrats in the US.
Yes, but it's like actually more consistent. just
Yeah,
because.
but I mean,
it's
like
a smaller country.
The Democrats have just dropped
Mm.
the ball so many times that they are now attacking
Yeah.
Trump from the right
Yeah.
and losing.
Yeah.
I s-
Hey there.
I still believe the Democrats are basically just trying to throw things on purpose at this point. I unironically believe that.
I mean, people like Joe Biden are most definitely like a fifth column for the GOP. That's like a fact.
I don't think that he's like a fifth column. I think he genuinely believes
Well,
the thing that
not
he
himself,
does.
but he is like put into this position as a fifth column.
Well,
Yeah.
what you gotta understand is, I honestly believe that poor kids are just as smart as white kids.
Oh my god.
Peter
Dad.
arrives.
Good morning, everybody. How are we going?
Cool.
Peter
Ah.
arrives with the racism just on time.
Yeah. I'm Australia.
What will we
I'm
do
always
without
with the
it?
racism
Peter
in time.
arrives. Peter,
it
that's
was
part of
a-
the quarantine.
It was an actual Joe Biden quote, so
I
That
know.
is an actual Joe Biden quote.
I like the Asian jungle more though.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
like
that's
it.
a- that's-
Yeah.
that's a quote. I like the racial jungle more. No, we were just discussing the fucking Austrian conservatives' hard shift to the left. In like economic like this I will savor this austerity quote forever to just throw at people because it's funny.
The thing is, this is just natural development.
Yeah, I
like
know.
in the times of crisis, this is like Engels shit, I believe. But like
Yeah.
the perfect state, like position for capitalism is like state capitalism, like this
Capitalism has a
monopoly.
tendency to concentrate in the state.
Yeah.
The thing is that the it is a paradigm shift because people's policies are moving further to the left, both economically and socially in Austria right now. Like I've even noticed it out in the country, which is kind of insane to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I live in basically what, like, think North Carolina. I'm like that's like sort of the position that my state occupies. That's sort of what we are. And we like fucking
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, we like get fucking policy shifts, and like the government has to either follow or lose votes, and it creates these strange lines in the sand. Because the thing is, the conservatives will have to do these social democratic policies, but they suck at them.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, one thing that's really got me surprised is that, well, not really surprised, more like gobsmacked, is the fact that the Maoists haven't capitalized on this opportunity yet. Because quite frankly, I've been like watching like reactions on Twitter, but also I actually had a real life example. Like one of the people down my dad's Veterans Association group is actually like the chairman or chairwoman, if you like, of all the landlords in the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all having discussions like all the landlords are openly having discussions. So because of the coronavirus epidemic and everything like that, how are we going to enforce the rent collection on our tenants, and how are we going to evict them given the circumstances of them? And I'm just like, oh my god.
I have something to add to that. I have something to add to that. So this happened in my state, where the like local landlord associations basically asked the federal government, because they're in charge of that, how are they going to, if you're putting a rent freeze, which the federal government has now done, there is a rent freeze in place, and a stop on all evictions. And currently on the floor of the parliament is the following bill, a bill to stop all business severances until the crisis is over. Basically, you can't fire anyone until the pandemic's over.
Yeah, one second.
For any reason. You can make them stop going to work if something's real bad, but you have to still pay them.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the local landlords association was like, well, okay, but if you basically won't let us evict people, how are we gonna enforce our rent? The federal government's response boils down to, you won't. which is
That is fucking incredible.
that's pretty based. I'll be honest. it's like that meme, you know, the yes, and it's like, so you're telling me I can't evict my tenants for not being able to pay their rent, and then it's just like the federal government, yes.
Yeah, something the the thing that's like the thing that's gonna hurt the most is like the people that are gonna like be hurt the most are gonna be the lumpen and the
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
the hustle people, so to speak, like the people that work over apps and like
Really, people like me, 'cause I'm fucking unemployed and shit,
Alright.
and like live on
yeah
benefits.
as well.
Reminder. On the 1st of April, there's a nationwide rent strike in America.
Oh.
Who's actually going to do it though?
Well, tons of people.
It's nationwide, Pac-Man.
Everyone.
Yeah, but every time Americans try to call a general
Here's the
strike,
thing.
like
Here's
3
the-
people from each city do it.
And that's because usually it only directly affects 3 people.
It went
Currently,
viral.
several million people will have trouble paying their rent.
Yeah.
And all of those
they're
people-
expecting that by the end of the month, it's either 2 or 20 million people will be applying for unemployment.
Yeah.
And all of those people that are unable to pay their rent or close to unable have a big interest to
Or
participate in
or even are at the risk of being unable or know someone who is in that position.
We're talking between 10 and 50 million people.
The Twitter account, there's a website. Home rentstrike2020.org. Yeah, so it's happening.
I want to see that.
There's also some wildcat strikes going on in the auto industry in Indiana,
Everywhere.
Ohio, and Michigan.
And France.
Yeah.
Yeah, in France, because the government has refused to really do anything, what the fucking unions have done, they've just shut down factories and sent people home,
Yeah.
like as a quarantine measure. And
Yeah.
it's glorious. It's like...
So the unions have been working very hard to like
Yeah,
save people, which is
And
interesting.
that will reverberate after this crisis. That's an important thing for us to remind ourselves and to capitalize on. The fact that the people doing things are unions and rent associations, those sorts of people. People will remember that.
The fact that the unions are the ones that are trying to reconcile, and the people that are refusing the unions' options.
Yeah.
So it also seems that so the Dow closed sub 20K today. Again, futures are already down almost 1%. So we're under 19K if we look at futures as well.
So there has been like a really interesting proposal. I don't think it'll pass, but a proposal that we've made is that we would essentially ask the International Bank Association to freeze all of our assets until the crisis is over, and to essentially lock down the stock market.
Yeah. The
Basically,
the European
Withdraw
Association
your money
of
now.
Yeah,
the European Association of Unions has also demanded the end of, they call it, market speculations until the end of the crisis.
like, we are legitimately thinking about like a partial closure of our stock market.
Withdraw your money from the bank right now. You can put it back in later.
Yeah. But here's the interesting part. The bill that is being put out by a voting bloc of Greens and Social Democrats, includes a stipulation. Basically, we will freeze only assets of like larger investors, and even then, it's only a partial freezer. Basically, everyone will be left with at least 10K. But no one will be.
Yeah.
If you've got like a lot of money, you'll be able to pay all your shit, but you won't have access to your fucking trillions of dollars floating around.
So this sounds like a lot like a prequel to the money reform in that went here after World War II,
Like,
which was just
honestly,
basically a funny way to like extract money from the people that hoarded them.
Yeah.
like, honestly, this is the thing. If the economy continues to collapse like this in this pandemic, what we will see in long term is that, well, the ones really hurt, like right now, the ones hurt are, the really poor. But the longer this crisis goes on, because the lumpen will be stuck in this really sorry state.
Yeah,
But
they are already
more
fucked.
investors will crash and more and crash and crash and crash, and it will, even when the economy recovers, we will overall be left with a lot less potential speculation than before, because everything, like,
He's fucked.
a lot of bubbles are about to pop.
Bubbles.
Everything will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like a lot of the like the new investment opportunities and all this shit. It's either like it's two things. It's managing the spectacle, which is just PR. That's like the big blowing up sector. Like the only
Yeah.
thing that's actually some like innovation is happening. Like a lot of innovation is happening recently, or it's like the hustle economy. It's the lumpens doing like weird
Yeah.
jobs.
So, like the conservatives have now been paraphrasing social democratic policies from the 70s that basically is like, well, okay, saving money really isn't important right now. Doesn't matter if we make doesn't matter if we have to make 2 billion euros debt now, if it will save like 100,000 lives.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a drastic departure from the previous policy.
Yeah. If I
Yeah,
go
and then
look
you
at...
look over,
Hmm?
and then you look over at how the U.S. is handling things. There are people who are 3D printing ventilators so that they actually still have some to use. Which 3D printing them, especially depending on what materials you use to 3D print, apparently can be quite dangerous, but it's still better than the alternative of not having anything. And the companies that make these ventilators have decided to try and sue these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how it's going over here. Corporations are just doubling down on every shitty, stupid thing they could possibly do, and yeah, people are getting angry.
Yeah, because like they're also panicking.
The ICT and Battaglia Comunista in Italy is currently intervening in strikes by migrant workers from Africa, and it's getting big. Hopefully,
Yeah.
That's my org. So yeah, they're intervening there. But let's talk about the value of commodities right now, because CNN Business gives me some good info on the.
Before just go ahead. I just gotta get something to drink. My electrolytes are checked.
So who wants to take a bet, like a guess, on what percentage that light oil, like light crude oil, has dropped in a month?
I guess sign up, take your shot, because I already heard that, I think.
I have no fucking clue, but I'm curious to hear.
54.64% drop in 1 month. In a whole year, though, it's dropped 60.51%. And then if we go to, say, natural gas, it dropped 44%. Unleaded gas has now gone down almost 68% in a year.
A lot of this means that we might actually get rid of the rapeseed.
Yeah.
But that's like a completely unrelated thing to our local economics.
Then copper has dropped by 26.55% in a year, which in a month has been only 18.24. Everything's dropping except for gold and silver.
Yeah, but mints are closing.
Yeah, the mints have closed today, so it'll be going down, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, all these boomers that bought gold feel good today, they won't feel good tomorrow. And as Elle said in the chat, those lines sure are going down.
Line go down.
Line go down. My friend from Australia, Christian, said that they're predicting right now, this is a low ball, that the Australian economy will shrink by about 6 to 7%.
Funky.
Funky. Yeah.
Funky.
I saw the Austrian market went up 10% today, though. So that line went up some. Hong Kong market has now exceeded the U.S. markets, and Japan is now down to 16,000.
So, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Carry on.
Nikkei 225 is down to 16,000, and the Hong Kong Hang Seng is up to almost 23,000.
We've nationalized some things. I didn't even know that.
Energy minerals apparently went down by 54.28%. It's like sectors. Retail's gone down almost 10. Communications down by 10. Tech services down by 16. Consumer non-durables, I'm going off the numbers that CNN Money is giving. Consumer non-durables is almost 17%. Utilities 18%. Electronic technology almost 22%. Health services almost 25%. Consumer durables almost 27%. Commercial services 27%. Transportation almost 28%. Finance almost down 31%. The U.S. dollar is inflating as well, so I don't know how bad that'll be, but it could get bad if it hits some bra moments and goes up.
I am very much the inflation that is compared mostly to other currencies.
Yeah.
I don't think that's relevant. I think what's relevant is price levels.
The Fed is just printing money and giving it to the fucking stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Money machine go brr brr brr.
You know that's one thing that I will give the libertarians, as unhinged as they are. The Federal Reserve needs to fucking die.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine.
I'm excited.
The amount that the market is going
Of course you are.
down-
The pandemic is just one way of accelerating the dialectic, isn't it?
It's reformism.
I mean, I agree with Koenig's Mark. Nuclear war is more based, but I mean, I'll take this.
But
This is okay.
This is too slow though.
this is too slow. Not enough people are dying. Is that your problem with this?
No.
Yes, I'm just here for the violence, to quote my friend.
I mean,
No,
we're gonna get the violence though. That's the problem.
by
we
the
are gonna
end
get
of
the
this
Read the
month,
violence book.
by the end of this month, Goldman Sachs is forecasting. No, by the end of this week, they're forecasting that 2.5 million people will be applying for unemployment. It's
They might-
unprecedented. This has never happened.
At the same time, minded that Donald Trump has cut like the budget for those.
Yeah. Also, the market is now declining faster than the 1929 crash.
Based.
Everything is going down.
See,
So,
yeah. Also, crude oil, April
Are we
20,
demonetized yet?
from the NY Mercantile, has gone down to $19.84 a barrel, which is holy shit low.
All of this, this meme, I have to post it.
Yeah, haha, protein printer go brr. You can't just hijack my cellular brain and force me to make copies of you. Haha, protein printer go brr.
Yeah, I saw that. It's funny.
I guess that's a good transition to the virus, specifically. New cases. Italy still at the peak of new cases, with a total case number of 47,000 people, which is 778 per million in the country. With new cases today almost eclipsing 6,000. The U.S. is trailing behind with 19,000 cases, and that is 5.28 thousand new cases. Over 600 died in Italy today. Germany is just skyrocketing because they're doing fuck all because they refuse to hurt their economy and hurt the fact that they're the Central European hegemon. They have almost 19,000 cases, and they grew by 4,500 people today. Germany is fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, their refusal to hurt their economy will literally crash it.
Yeah.
They decided to destroy the economy with no survivors.
China is reporting no new cases.
Yeah, I think there's some shenanigans going on there, but
I do too, but Italy has more deaths than China has had now, and they're only about half of the total cases that China's had.
Yeah.
They're telling people over 80 to have their last hoorays.
yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Right now the cases are still rising exponentially. We now have
Iran.
Iran is fucked. Total cases though now is 274,606. That's how much have been reported.
How many were today?
Today, it doesn't say, but it's a fucking like tens of thousands.
Yeah.
The linear graph is showing that. Oh, so March 18th was 218,000. March 19th was 245,000. 245,000. So it went up by about 30,000 today. About 30,000 today. And there's now been a total of 10,000 deaths. Again, this is all reported. More case statistics. Total cases.
So we've had 5 deaths now. 2 of them today. Today died a 81-year-old man and a 94-year-old woman.
Oh god.
Yeah. We are like.
We have some people in critical condition, no deaths yet. We have about 700 cases
Yeah.
because actual like tests arrived from various places, so we can like test everyone. So it's skyrocketing because of that. We had like 300 cases a week ago.
Also, importantly, here, like the army is going into a lot of places. And it's funny because the army has like a historical record of less police brutality than the actual police.
We might be sending the fucking army into Florida. We already sent them into New York.
Actual army or the National Guard?
I think National Guard.
Yeah, National Guards are psychopaths.
God,
That's gonna be something to see. The psychopaths of the National Guard versus the maniacs in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The ultimate showdown.
Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
Galaxy War. Florida Man versus the National Guard.
Florida man shits on National Guard Humvee and is arrested after slapping an officer with his penis.
Have you seen pictures from fucking Florida? People going to the beaches, they are just
Oh yeah, dude, they're fucking killing themselves. It's funny.
I mean,
It's not funny.
I can't entirely blame
Oh, no, it's fucking
them.
hysterical.
I too would kill myself.
Honey.
Not even if I lived in Florida, just in general.
Honey.
Look, I have to make edgy, self-depreciating jokes. This is just what I am.
No.
It is, baby. I'm sorry. This is what you want to marry. I'm sorry.
One of the reasons why Florida decided not to do anything is because it would hurt the profits of Disneyland. This is like a joke that I would make.
But it's actually true.
Yeah.
So we just
Disneyland.
gonna.
I'm pretty sure this is why Nietzsche killed God.
Okay, think about this, okay? So children are asymptomatic, right? Think how many snot-nosed kids are being taken to Disneyland on a daily basis that had it but weren't symptomatic.
Not only that, but places are refusing to close like grade schools all over the U.S. Can we just bring that up as well?
My state closed
conjunction?
everything. My state has closed every school. It's fucked. Also, if you want to have a fun time, as I have had for the last couple days, go on 4chan Bizboard. It's the funniest shit I've ever watched.
Oh,
Oh God.
oh, it's
They're just panicking.
I have
it's
some
so funny.
popcorn I could cook up. I might do that this
Please,
evening.
it's
Honestly.
I was screaming last night watching it with Spooks.
What do they believe though? What's like their explanations?
The Jews did it.
Of course.
Besides of that,
Oh,
I want to know-
okay. So 4 Republican senators have been caught insider trading.
oh.
with the various information.
Yeah, they
I wonder what's gonna happen to them. Nothing.
they sold off hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stock. $400,000.
Ow.
Fuck me. Holy shit.
That was only one of them. Only one of them sold off $400,000.
What?
Senator Burr, fucking Burr did it. $470,000 worth of stock because he knew it was coming.
You know, that could buy a lot of ropes to hang him from.
Like half of this will sell us the rope.
I mean, the capitalist is selling us the stock that will crash his economy, so yeah.
I mean, they're
he is.
They're selling us the long drop, not the rope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll have to make
like
up make up the overhead
Yeah.
for the sudden stop, but they've already sold us the long drop.
Yeah, essentially what's happened here is that we've said, we're gonna hang you, and they were like, you'll never catch me alive, and then he hang a noose around himself and jumped off a cliff.
Mm-hmm. You'll never catch me alive, proles.
You will never kill me alive.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, puppy. Come here.
Harper,
what do you think of capitalists?
This will be a series of bro moments. I can't wait.
She ran away.
This isn't just like US localized thing. This have now reverberated everywhere. The Czech, the Prague stock market has been crashing like never before.
The Italian
Same
stock
with-
market dropped. I mean, obviously it did, but it dropped
Obviously.
fucking like 48%.
Indonesia's going down as well. Everywhere's going down.
Oh yeah, everything's going down. The line goes down. The line is going down.
Africa the least affected so
Yeah.
far.
Also,
Yeah.
oil might be sold negative soon.
American fracking industry on suicide watch.
I mean,
they're
already
fracking, they're
unprofitable.
Yeah.
So,
They already
but here's-
survive off of like subsidies.
I can actually
Subsidies.
explain exactly why Africa hasn't been hit as hard. It's because all of their assets they all don't own any of their like big assets because they're all owned by the French and
Yeah.
the Chinese.
Yeah.
They're all owned by
Actually
like
hurting
the
their economies.
neo-colonialists.
So
So France and China mainly.
yeah, like this.
So
this
it's kind of gonna be like in Africa. It's gonna look more like the 2008 thing, which wasn't a famine, because for famine there needs to be food shortage. This was a food overpricing issue,
yeah.
and it had basically the same effect as a famine. But yeah, there was like that's the most fucked up shit. Like the source
Oh,
of
yeah, like
the source
honestly,
of poverty today is prosperity.
Do you ever want? If you ever want to, just anyone watching, if you ever want to hone your hatred for the French, study recent West African history for a few hours.
Yeah.
It's like where they shot like not just activists, but where they basically ordered a hit on an opposition leader in like I think fucking Togo.
Oh, Braggy in the chat says Posadism rising. There you go.
Everything's rising.
I can just hear the erection in that laugh.
That's the laugh. That's the same laugh I had when I burnt down an entire empire earlier today.
Snowdesia closed their land border.
Nice.
Ah,
Oh no, not Snowdesia.
Yeah.
whatever will we do?
Trudeau rallies industry to aid in the COVID fight from CTV News. Is this
I mean,
state
he could do a
capitalism
s-
moment?
I mean, he
Is this
could-
state capitalism
Yes.
moment?
Yes, because
Okay.
he also promised a big support for, like, big bailout to like minerals and oil and shit like that.
You know, he could start helping us by throwing himself in front of a bus.
Honestly, though, Canada is such a fucking clown word in itself.
Canada's not fucking real. I
What's the
refuse to
thing
believe.
that I'm trying to find the quote from Engels where he talks about how it has a tendency to concentrate in a state.
Capital has a tendency to concentrate. Hold on.
In the state.
Uh,
I mean, like, if you look at it from like a logical perspective, the start of this whole was the idea that if you have 12 people who own a ship and 12 ships, if one of them scuttles, that person's fucked. But if
Yeah.
so it's a big risk. But if you put them together in a company, then it's relatively more safe. So the logical conclusion of it, it's like all the wealth of all the capitalists is put into one bundle, and it's all like a property of them all. So they kind of have like inform like a socialized wealth among them, and the ecological conclusion of that is also that it will be in the state as like the state will function as a mechanism of like solving the issues among them because the
It's-
state is a bourgeois dictatorship. It's all perfectly logical.
Yeah. And this is where commodities, like as a arcane concept almost, because that's essentially what it is, starts to collapse. You know, to quote Marx, capital is money, capital is commodities. By virtue of it being value, it has acquired the occult ability to add value to itself. It brings forth living offspring, or at least lays golden eggs, which is one of my favorite quotes because it's fun.
Thing about how like capital has an amplifying tendency towards monopoly, and that monopoly finds its home in the state.
Yeah.
And with the crisis, we're seeing this happen. This is state capitalism. What's coming? Like a very important reminder that nationalization is not socialism. It's not going to be, and it can't be. It's just the same as how I always remind people that workers owning means of production is not socialism, because socialism means the abolition of class, and if there's workers owning production that means there's two classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is quite literally. I'm paraphrasing Vladimir Lenin here. Like it's not hard if you read him. We as socialists shouldn't be rallying behind the end goal of
Dirigism.
of insurrectionary Lassalleanism.
Yeah. Yeah, like let's not be
Let's not be
Stop being Gotha program dipshits and come on.
no, come on, we need to be Blankists. I don't know what your problem is.
I just
I
want
mean-
to make
I mean,
a.
I
I just
mean-
want to.
I
just
do
wanted to
call
make a
MLs
neo-Jacobin
Blankists a lot.
reference.
I do call MLs Blankists on Twitter a
Oh,
lot.
because that's what the fucking are.
Yeah, they're Blankists,
Yeah,
state
absolutely.
Proudhonians, and insurrectionary Lassalleans.
And they have they have like the same dedication to aesthetics over program that the neo-Jacobins had. So
Yeah.
basically we are where we were 150 years ago, and we are fucked.
Yeah, you need a program.
You need a program that's not let's do what the
That
Nazis
doesn't
did.
just reminisce about the past.
Yes.
To stop being fucking romantics with the Soviet Union, read theory and understand that the Soviet Union became counter-revolutionary after the dissolution of the fucking councils, which is the fucking literal organization of workers' fucking democracy for the abolition of the proletariat. Fucking Jesus Christ, read theory.
Oh, but you see, superstructure and material conditions.
They don't know what a superstructure is.
Yeah,
do you
but
mean?
they don't know that they don't know that.
They don't understand that the base of capitalism is quite literally the fucking commodity production. Reading Stalin made me more of a leftcom.
Epic.
Now there's a quote and a half.
No, like, it's actually true.
It's true.
Like,
It's actually true.
I've spent the last, like, month or so, like, slogging through Stalin's, like, writings, and it's...
Theo on Suicide Watch.
I have never, ever wanted to strangle that stupid Georgian Muppet more in my life than I do now.
He had the understanding of Marx of a third grader.
He thought that the barter economy was an example of communism and that it was good.
God.
Stalin is a thing that should never have existed.
Not only does he think that there will be commodity production under socialism, but that he thought that what made it socialism was that it had more commodity production than capitalism.
Yeah, it's not like... I mean, okay, there's also that Stalin quote where he believed that communism could have a state.
Yeah, that's like, that was the best part. I hate Stalin so much. I want that stupid Georgian Muppet to just fall down a mine shaft and die again.
Read fucking Lenin, read fucking Damen, read early Bordiga, and then read Panikkirk and Luxembourg.
Yeah. Liebknecht too.
Yeah, Liebknecht, because he gets left out all the time.
Or just think about it, like,
Yeah,
think about it.
just think.
Yeah.
Use brain. Use organ in...
I think, I genuinely believe that Al Capone had more brain capacity than Joseph Stalin.
Well, yeah, because Al Capone, like, actually organized with...
Al Capone was pretty based though.
Yes, but he also tried fishing in his own fucking backyard pool.
Chat move.
Chad.
So did Joe
but,
Biden.
You know, that's the... Okay, anyway, okay, how to put this? How do I put this? This is the thing, like, a lot of fucking these, like, hardline ML dick shitters, like, when you adopt that sort of position, that ideology, those sets of beliefs, you essentially lobotomize yourself to just not think. In the same way that liberals don't think, like in the same way that fucking US liberals don't think about anything that's actually happening in the Democratic Party.
They think the Democratic Party is good because they're not Republicans. They just how like they think, just how these people think the Communist Party is good because they say they're communist.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, sure, so, you know, Ceausescu, who called his ideology national communism and tried to build a statue to Ion Antonescu.
The fucking fascist.
Yeah, like the former fascist leader of, like, Romania, and the Politburo had to stop him because they were scared that the fucking Russians would just Prague them.
Yeah.
And then he also sold oil to Reagan, so there's that.
Yeah, the
Remember when,
plus like the amount of MLs that I used to know who have become literal fascists is
Remember how Franco and Pinochet liked Castro?
Yeah.
Trump has now invoked the Defense Protection Act. I don't know what that means, but he has. I'm trying to find what that means.
I mean, it sounds like it has the capacity to be based, but
It's an executive order. Let's see. I'm finding an article right now. Trump signs Defense Protection Act to manufacture PPE for COVID-19. Calling himself a wartime president, President Donald Trump today signed the Defense Protection Act, allowing the military to produce, among other things, personal protective equipment such as face masks as part of an effort to slow the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, that's actually a fairly normal response to something
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
That's
The
surprisingly.
wartime president. I'm important. I'm cool. Look at me.
I mean, yeah,
I mean,
but
it will
is
actually
just
work.
like, yeah, it is just
First of all,
actually,
it will work politically. Second of all, it will actually work against the virus.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
Like,
the
Trump-
army are the ones that are actually going to have to go out and do shit when the police inevitably collapses, and if you don't
Love the
want
fact
the
that Trump can't help but, stroke his own ego in every single fucking...
yeah.
Every
I-
single
I
fucking...
like how Trump's now have like 54 like percent of Americans are like, yeah, he did it well, when he spent like 2 weeks of saying that there's actually no problem, and it's the leftists in the media that are like making the virus up to like make him look bad. Amazing, you love to see it.
apparently there's been $1 trillion repo operations per day for a month now.
Yeah, and they plan to maintain that.
Yeah.
Just fuck it, money fake, rent is fake.
It
That's
is.
what this crisis
Well,
is.
if rent is fake, we shouldn't pay them any rent.
Wait, that's 2 times the current U.S. money supply?
Yeah,
Oh,
see.
I want to repost this because it's funny. Hold on.
This is what
Давай,
was
давай,
posted in the
давай.
thread.
Pirate.
Our city
I swear to-
just stopped evictions and set-outs. We have over 300 properties. A large portion will stop paying rent. This is fucking crazy. From landlords, resident investors, and property managers hub. Fuck the landlords. Mao did one thing right, but then the state became the landlord, and that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Reminder.
Yeah, that is a danger that will.
Reminder. The
Okay.
Chinese state is the one that became the landlord because they rent you property for 99 years.
Later as fucking feudalism.
When you buy a house in China, you're renting it for 99 years.
Yeah, it's called renting. Like you in social, you actually don't own shit. It's in socialist use.
Yeah.
We had that as well, and it's one of the most amazing like Soviet inventions in law that ever exists. It's in there together with the fact that like you can have a house and you can have the house stand on like a piece of land, and those two things can have different owners.
Yeah.
That's also the invention of like Soviet law.
Okay, in a month, the U.S. dollar will be worth like 50 cents. It's fucked.
I love it. It's great.
They're gonna have to introduce price lists.
Which will be
Or-
good for me because currently the Australian dollar is almost half that of the US dollar, so I get to buy a lot of shit. So by all means, keep crashing. Go forth, be free.
I mean the AUD is also going down a bit.
Not as much as the USD.
They're gonna have to fix prices or just go for on like war economy list system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Withdraw your fucking money now.
I think I will actually do that.
Do the opposite of whatever the media tells you to do.
Oh my god, like, I know this is a tangent, but like, I'm just still so mad about how fucking, like, bad Stalin is. Even at just Lenin, just reading Lenin.
Go ahead and talk about this because it's fun.
So there's this like, piece of Lenin where like Lenin talks about, like, where he criticizes Bukharin's, like, basically Bukharin's advocacy of continuing the new economic policy, which was like state capitalism, yada yada yada.
Also widely unpopular. among
Yeah.
the workers.
The United
So-
States has apparently put a cap on cryptocurrencies, on purchasing them a day.
So, this is a quote from Stalin's work. The concerning questions of the agrarian policy in the USSR.
Because Stalin is an expert on agrarian solutions
Yeah.
in the USSR.
Lenin was 1,000 times right when, in his notes on Bukharin's economics of the transition period, he referred to the commodity capitalist tendency of the peasantry, in contrast to the socialist tendency of the proletariat. It is that explains why, quote, small production engenders capitalism, and the bourgeois continuously, hourly, spontaneously, on mass scale. And Stalin thinks that this means that Lenin thought that socialism had commodity production, and that collectivization was actually just the same thing as like worker ownership.
God. Insurrectionary Richard Wolfism.
We might actually see that. We might actually see that in the US soon.
Oh God, please no, no! I don't
Speaking
want
of-
fucking co-op capitalists.
They will come. Like Neoplatonianism is
I
on the
don't want
rise.
these
It's going to
fucking-
be on
Yeah.
the rise.
Stop transferring the fucking.
But they will come. Because people don't want to change things, and mutualism is that solution. It is just the next evolution.
Capitalism. It's just capitalism.
But mutualism is the next evolution of social democracy. Because social democracy will no longer be able to sustain the system, and then they'll go to mutualism to basically placate people.
Yeah.
And that will collapse too. And you
Yeah.
know that it's just the next step of like social democracy.
Rope.
And following
Rope.
that evolution of social democracy, there will be another evolution of fascism. That's
Rope.
What's gonna be the evolution of fascism, though?
Rope.
let's talk about that. But who died?
Eco-fascism is going to be a huge part of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but speaking of,
Because
yeah,
we're already seeing it. We're seeing these like, oh, well, we just have too many people on the planet. It can't support everyone.
Neo-Malthusianism.
And where do you think that's going to go?
Also, there have been so many bad fucking
takes.
fascist takes about how the fucking environment emissions have been improving and whatnot, and it's
Fucking. Speaking of that,
we are the virus is my favorite quote.
We are the virus.
Oh my god.
We are
Speaking
the
of-
real. Maybe we were the real virus all along. Kermit the Frog here
It's
to
not-
tell you that.
Like fucking 72 companies are the ones. 100 companies are doing like 72% of the fucking damage.
Yeah, we could kill. Theoretically, no, not advocating for anything. We could theoretically, spontaneously take 100 people out of existence. That's good. And 700 specific people, and it would and freeze their assets and take it under common control.
We could take
Speaking of-
100. We could take 100 people, and we could freeze their assets and do some things with them as people, and it wouldn't be that bad, guys. Come on.
Speaking of some people, you are American. That if you ever have the chance to see Karl Kulinski, please explain to him how this neo Malthusian shit is wrong.
Canadian.
No, it's American.
He's an American.
All right.
One
The
word.
sadness with which you said no.
Rope. Just the rose rope. It rhymes. Think about that.
Yank. Oh god.
Moving from that.
Social democracy lends itself so easily to like fucking fascism and Malthusianism.
Because there's a very easy reason for that. It's the fact that when capitalism collapses, it has to find something to blame that isn't itself. So the abstraction of humanity is fine to blame on everything.
It's not the system,
Because
it's
it's-
the people in the system.
Because, like, to say that humanity is at fault is technically correct, but it eliminates
it
context.
sidesteps the problem like Plato sidesteps
Yeah.
change.
Neoplatonism is also, like, a curse.
Yeah. I mean, they sidestep the problems of capitalism by blaming it on people. Like Plato sidesteps change by going to the fucking realm form, the form of
Yeah,
shit.
to go on a tangent here, this is why, like, modern, like, ideas about psychology are bullshit. It's because it's, like, the way that we currently view psychology, both legally and, like, as a study, is just Neoplatonist bullshit that assumes a fucking, like, natural state of being in a mind which doesn't exist.
I have seen the most amazing tweet. Can
Yeah,
I read it?
Yeah.
This is from Governor Mike Huckabee in regards to the current crisis, economic and virus crisis.
Yeah, what were you saying?
I quote, "Those of us from rural South know how to handle toilet paper shortages. Eat more corn on the cob. The corn isn't important, but the cob are free and work great. Just don't flush them. You are welcome." End quote. This is going to be in history books. I will make sure of that.
What were you saying about the thing we were saying, Dip Dap?
They assume that there is a norm, and
Which is
everything else
wrong.
is divergent.
Yeah, which, like, I'll be honest, everyone's neurodivergent in one way or the other.
And the
But
logical conclusion of that
it's like-
idea. Sorry, go on.
Now, this is a bit controversial, but I think that there is such a thing as ideological neurotypicalism, where people essentially absorb themselves in this idea that their minds are normal and are part of this norm in the same way that they absorb themselves within capitalism and in commodities and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just Neoplatonist bullshit. There is no ideal mental state. Things just exist. Like, that's the materialist position. Things just exist, and there's no deeper meaning behind.
So you're saying is that the materialist position is it be like that?
Literally, that's literally the materialist position. It really do be like that, and any, like, ideas to the contrary are, well, yeah.
What they're
By the way-
doing is they are also a lot of times they apply value judgments to these
Exactly.
things.
Exactly.
Because rather
be
than saying depression be like that, and say how do we treat it, they say, all right, depression is abnormal.
It's always about fixing things,
It's about fixing
especially
things.
when
Yep.
talking about neurodivergence. How do we, fix these people?
It's like how like the fucking evil organization known as Autism Speaks works.
Oh, okay. Now I have to go on
God,
a tangent.
yeah.
Go
Now
on
I
the
have to
tangent. Go on the tangent.
These fucking cretins, these fucking crustacean-brained fucking dipshits. Like,
Don't insult crustaceans like that. Crabs are cool.
okay, these invertebrates. That's what they are. They're spineless fucking snails. So, right, for anyone unfamiliar, Autism Speaks is a quote-unquote, huge air quotes, autism advocacy groups. But it's not an advocacy group for people like, say, me. No, it's an advocacy group for autistic parents. Essentially, to make, like, pity porn about how poor these parents are who have to live with the burden of having to raise an autistic child. And, like, they treat people like me as a burden, and people especially like me, as in adult autistic people, like we don't fucking exist, because we're like a fucking thorn in the narrative, because we exist separate from our parents, and we're not a burden to anyone, and that, like, scares them. Like, it legitimately scares them.
They also do that whole thing. The reason that like the color for autism when people talk about it is blue is because they only think that boys can get it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Which No. Even if you're a TERF, no.
I can tell you right now, I have met some very, very autistic women in my lifetime. And yeah,
Yeah, you're
I
looking
don't
at
believe
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're looking
And
at
it's-
two, actually.
technically,
wow.
yes.
Yeah, I think most people in this chat are autistic, so it's fine.
I think we have faced like 100%. I don't know about Peter and Dip.
No.
No.
Theo is 100% correct. I mean, I'm not diagnosed, but Theo's pretty certain I am. So
Yeah.
So
But like so okay, this was always something I was very angry about, but you know what really like gets my blood boiling? Have
What?
you ever actually talked to these people?
No.
They talk they talk to you like you're a child, like you're an infant that doesn't understand anything, and they talk about me as an illness, not as me having an illness. I am the disease. I am the problem. And
It's like my research when I was doing the stuff for the video. It reminds me of the German doctors who were like, we were just euthanizing them because it was the right thing to do. And the doctor was like saying that like he kept advocating for it even after the war.
yeah,
I kind of wanted to, before we got into this tangent, I want to like mention the logical conclusion of this attempt to like isolate the people that are abnormal. We're gonna end up with like people like Savitri Davi,
Yes.
who believes that we need to exterminate 98% of the population.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's the whole thing. I'll talk about it in my video because I'm in the editing stage now.
Can't wait.
Ooh.
But it is also an admission. It's an admission of the fact that the norm doesn't exist.
Exactly.
If like less than 1% of people are part of the norm, it's not the fucking norm. It's a fucking societal norm, definitely. But
It's a social norm.
but this is the problem with like the way we structure society. Society is constructed for about 1% of the population, right?
Yeah.
Both economically speaking and in the way that we handle ourselves. It's just that most people are adaptable enough to where they can internalize all of that shit. But that's a huge part of like alienation that we don't talk about because it doesn't concern economic problems, but it like we are often alienated from social interactions simply because like the way that social norms handle those interactions are geared against us.
Mm-hmm.
And it will it took me about 15 years to get over all of my internalized like self bigotry and like the idea that there is something wrong with me for various reasons. Like not just the autism, that just but there isn't, right? Like all of these neurodivergences, it's not a disease. It's not like the flu. It's not like cancer, right? Because
Are you going to tell them or shall I?
Because it's like it implies that something does not work. My brain functions fine. It works very differently from I don't know Joe Biden. No, Joe Biden's a bad example. Who's normal?
I don't think Joe Biden's brain works at this point.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
my
it's
point.
Just
Joe normal person. You know, my brain may not work like him because he doesn't exist. But it functions. You know, it does everything that it needs to. But all of the little fine-tuning doesn't work, and we need to stop. As leftists, we need to stop infantilizing and demonizing and fucking like putting autistic people down, plural people down. We need to stop fucking. We need
Ableism
to
divides
stop.
the class.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to
Yep.
stop fucking like just dividing and putting all of these neurodivergent people down because not just because I am neurodivergent, but just because it will destroy us. Because these people are
Ableism divides the class, sexism divides the class, transphobia divides the class, homophobia divides the class.
Yeah. There's a reason fascists love things like that so much, and it's because it prevents us from working together. It is literally divide and conquer, and by participating in any of that shit, you are perpetuating the same fucking thing. You're shooting yourself in the dick.
That is the actual, actual meaning of that poem. First, they came for the communists, but I did not speak up, for I was not a communist. That is the actual, meaning of that poem. First, they came for the autistic people, but I don't care, because I wasn't autistic. That's... To paraphrase Emma Goldman, we're never going to have a revolution if we are not going to include disabled people in it.
Just whatever divides the class has to be thrown away. We have to think about the class as a group, and we have to think of the working class as the totality and not care about the small things like your race, your sex. But also you have to think about this. We have to consider these things. It doesn't mean we have to be blind to them, but we have to remember that that's not a thing to divide us.
Yeah, what that means essentially is we have to talk about throwing all of these oppressors, out, that we have to discuss that this is another way in which we are being divided. That's what we need to discuss. Yeah.
Just like TERFs have a false consciousness, a literal sex consciousness. Fascists have racial consciousness and national consciousness.
So what you're saying, what you're telling me is that TERFs are just gender evolens?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they literally are.
No, because Evola thought women didn't have souls.
Oh, right. But it's... that's right.
He also wasn't a biological...
Right, so... Yeah, that's right. Evola,
Evola was more progressive than TERFs.
Yeah, I think the gender equivalent of
Evola was more progressive than TERFs, Königsmark quote 2020.
I mean, kinda.
I think that the equivalent of Evola, a gender Evola, would be political lesbianism. You have to defeat the inner man.
Oh god, that stuff is so...
That's another epic shit. That's just...
Yeah.
Because... can the 20th century mistakes just all die, please?
Yeah, because Evola thought that everyone had an inner Jew and they had to defeat them.
You have to conquer the inner Jew. Even the Jews have to conquer their inner Jew, and if they conquer their inner Jew, then anyone can do it.
Yeah, and it's and that's that can actually be applied to political lesbianism. Funny, but yeah, and we need to that was the point of this tangent is.
I mean, it all depends on how you define defeating the inner man, because
we're not talking about masturbation, Peter.
I mean, you're not, but
no.
Maybe.
No.
But
this
somebody
is now...
stop the horny left.
This is now the incel chat. By the way, shout out to that fucking dude for being one of the stupidest things that I ever read.
No, but just to wrap this up, we are just further dividing ourselves, and things like the COVID-19 crisis will hit disabled people harder.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
My friend is stuck inside their house until it ends.
Yeah.
Because they have Crohn's.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad has Crohn's too, and the worst part is he still has to do his contracting work. They've moved it to online, so he's not, getting on planes and traveling all across the fucking US anymore for it. But, yeah. It's good that they did that. He's an older dude. If he caught it, and he's, just immunocompromised in general. And he's always had a bad immune system, even before the Crohn's became a huge issue.
That's another thing.
Yeah, people even my dad, who is otherwise perfectly fine, he would fucking die, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another point. If you have relatives or friends or just people that are immunocompromised, or just old people that like grandparents or whatever, or parents, if they cannot leave the house to get groceries, buy for them, help them.
Okay, here's the thing. My closing statement on this is, reminder, there's only one war. The class war.
Yeah.
The only identity that we need to be worried about is class. We have to talk about the others, but the one that we have to worry about is class.
Yeah, and we need to work together to.
Yeah.
You know,
And
No other
also-
class is your enemy. Only the rich.
Also,
Yeah.
we need
No
to
war, but class war.
We need to stop thinking about the class as an identity. That I
Yeah.
think is a big mistake
and
that the libs make.
yeah, because that leads to
Not
like
an identity.
Fucking, yeah,
That
because that
leads
leads
to,
to
like,
like
a fit-
fucking reductionists that like. Sorry, go ahead.
Like I meant like more like reductionist as well, but like cultural fetishizations,
Yeah.
complete blurring of the meaning, and just
Oh,
complete
absolutely.
brain deadismus.
Yeah, but that's like when fucking reductionists then like turn around and do something brain dead, like attack disabled people because, well, they dare have problems that don't affect them. But here's the thing, guys, they're still workers. They're still
Yeah.
workers.
Even
And
lib-
I've seen some of these assholes take the sort of take of like, well, if they're too disabled to work, we don't need to care about them. And it's like,
You don't fight ableist.
What?
You don't fight ableist capitalism with inclusive capitalism. You fight capitalism with socialism.
Yeah.
To paraphrase Newton.
yeah, and these. It always gets me because, like, do you have no idea what the circumstances are like for someone who is too disabled to work? They often are unable to have a sort of independence and may very well be stuck in another situation, especially if they continue to live with their families because, let me tell you, it's no secret that plenty of families of disabled people hate their fucking guts and resent the fact that they have to take care of them because they're assholes who didn't want any sort of responsibilities in their life.
Yeah.
If you can't deal with having a disabled child, don't have a child.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want,
literally, if you cannot deal with your child turning out to be literally anything, do not have kids. You are not ready.
The way
Yeah.
my friend, you know how like a lot of like new parents say, as long as they're healthy.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
professor has an addendum to that. As long as they're alive. Because
Yeah.
would you not love your child if they were not healthy?
Yeah. Like
As long as they're
make your
alive.
care about your child's happiness, not their well-being.
As long as they're alive and happy.
Because you are their parents, you are their first support network. If they cannot depend on you,
They can't depend on anyone.
well, who can they depend on?
Yeah.
The state?
No.
Yeah, that always goes.
So does anyone? I guess we've been going for like an hour and almost an hour and a half. So anyone have any closing
Yeah.
remarks? Or
I
anything?
just want
Limonov.
to
Limonov
Russian controversial political figure Alex Limonov died.
That's the founder of the Nazbol Party for anyone
Yeah.
unaware.
Not the Nazbol gang. What are we
He
gonna do without them?
he died after battling cancer for over a year now, and we had funeral earlier today.
So he
And-
should have struggled harder against his inner Jew then, shouldn't he?
He already
Oh my god.
Jesus.
there are already conspiracy theories that he lives in Florida actually.
Oh.
But
It
yeah,
has
he
to be
was,
fucking Florida.
but
Didn't he
yeah,
have
he
an open casket free funeral though?
what?
Didn't he have an open casket though?
Not sure. But yeah,
well,
he was
not that people would care about that, obviously.
yeah. So yeah, he was a big Russian political figure. He was the leader of the Nazbol Party from its beginning to its legal end, and even a while after that. And a poet, also wrote many books. He was emigrant from the USSR, and then he returned. He wanted to restore the Soviet Union.
And have
And,
Gorbachev publicly executed.
Yes, and many other things. His publication Limonka was banned several times for racism and anti-Semitism, and his most famous work is called "It's Me, Eddie" or something like that. I'm not sure how to translate it properly into English, which basically describes his like disenchantment from living in the U.S. and he went to the U.S. His wife left him, so he started sleeping with like black men in New York, and was very disenchanted with the life in America, and that's what made him the star. Because in France they published it, and everyone liked it. So yeah, he died after the illness, relatively short illness. But he was being like 76 years old. He was still like showing up surrounded by like supermodels and shit like that. He had kind of like the image that Putin has, but like kind of less fake, which is interesting. And he basically, one of the big people that started the movement with him was Alexander Dugin, who gave the movement its Eurasianist characteristics, but Dugin later switched teams and joined with Putin, while Limonov remained anti-Putin for for his life, for various reasons. So yeah, that's Alexander Limonov, the Russian Nazbol.
Didn't mean Edward Leonov?
Yeah, Edward Limonov. Fuck me. Edward Limonov, the Russian Nazbol man, died.
Nazbol man
well,
said, no, this can't be.
We still have Alexander Dugin, but Limonov is the more
Epic one.
The more epic and the more sane one, I would say.
When Dugin dies, that'll be a bro moment.
Yeah, when Dugin dies,
Okay.
his supporters will blame the Jews.
Yeah.
The new crab rave will occur.
Dun, 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 dun. Anyone have any other closing statements?
Abandon reason, no only pandemic.
Sell. Take your money out of the bank. Support the crash.
Help your
Help
disabled and
mutual-
help your
mutual
people
aid.
who cannot help themselves.
Help people.
Yep.
Help people who can help themselves but want help.
Yeah.
Yeah. The video is on the way. I finished the recording. I'm working on the editing. This is fucking I have to edit 100.
How long did
Also,
the
actually,
audio go for?
An hour and 51 minutes.
Actually, can I say one last thing?
Yep.
Thanks.
Shout out to all retail workers. Shout out to all fucking health.
Oh
workers,
yeah,
shout out to all
absolutely.
transport workers. To all public transport workers. To basically anyone that still has to fucking work in this fucking crisis. And fuck anyone who's fucking underpaying these fuckers. Fuck all of them. Fuck all of your employers, basically.
Fuck. God. Like.
Fuck God, yes, actually,
Fuck God.
absolutely.
The video is on the way, so soon, brothers.
How will I survive my fucking quarantine without my daily dose of left evolist theory?
How will you survive your daily? How will you survive? How will I survive quarantine without being able to go to the fucking library anymore?
Oh, that must be rough. Yeah.
Libgen.com.
Just talk to people. That's how I've been doing it.
I'm gonna read Capital. Fuck it.
Fair.
Fuck it.
You absolute fucking madman.
I'm gonna make a video series, I think, called Mini Marks, where I go through a chapter every video.
Well, the thing is, I sort of look at people who are like, I want to read Capital, and I'm like, really?
Yeah. Well, then there's DipDap, who just says, I'm just gonna do it again.
I've only read like the first half of Volume 1 myself, but that's a lot more than most people who are self-proclaimed Marxists.
You see, that's why I don't call myself a Marxist.
That's why I'm a Posadist.
See,
Marx is outmoded. He's yesterday's news, my man.
I'm gonna read the book. I'm gonna do videos on it. All I know is that Volume 2 is long, but it's thankfully the shortest one. To think that Marx was gonna write 6 volumes.
Well, alcoholism
and smoking.
And being German.
And also doing cocaine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being
A lot of cocaine.
Speaking of cocaine and virus, the
Oh, yeah, he
German,
did do cocaine, didn't he?
the French health ministry has recently repeatedly stated that cocaine does not cure the virus.
Does not cure the virus.
After rigorous testing, we have concluded.
The cocaine does not cure the virus.
But it gives me fucking hard on.
On the other hand, American, like I believe it was Florida police department, like Miami police department, has asked people if they have meth, they will test it for coronavirus for free.
The worst part is that initiatives like that tend
sounds
to work.
like entrapment.
Yes.
Yeah, those things actually do work. It's fucking.
It's
If
entrapment.
you're gonna do meth, at least. Actually, no. I shouldn't say if you're gonna do meth, at least be smart. No, if you're doing meth, you've lost the plot. I'm sorry.
No
I don't
meth.
know what you're talking
Julie.
about. It's the
Julie.
Nazi drug.
Julie.
I mean, it literally is the Nazi drug. They like pump their
Yeah.
full of
Oh, I know.
like
Yeah, the whole book blitzed about how Nazis did fucking meth.
Czechoslovak meth.
Yeah.
yeah, the good shit.
Pans of chocolate. Y'all motherfuckers wanna know about-
They did lose the plot.
Yeah.
They also
Yes,
lost the
they
war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you tell people that they conquered France because they had meth, people look at you and they're like, "Really?" And you're like, "Yeah."
An interesting thing from in my research of me having to read some Trotsky, Trotsky hated Trotskyists.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Understandable.
American ones who'd complain about how American Yanks don't read. Yanks can't
Yeah.
read. And the other thing that he said was if the Soviet Union's bureaucracy was not overthrown at the end of the war, then the concept of the degenerated workers would have to be analyzed. So, Leftcom's right. Leftcom's correct. Say capitalist.
Yeah, I mean, he. Like funny thing, the reason that Trotsky hated like all the American Trotskyists so much is because all the American Trotskyists were like non-violent and like pacifists.
That
Yeah,
thing
They
when
couldn't fucking read.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
what he
thing.
meant. Because
Because that's
like,
the thing. That's how I ended up as a trot initially. Was I thought it was just a less authoritarian version of the Soviet Union, and I'm like, oh, I can get behind that. And then you realize that if anything, Trotsky wouldn't have been as racist or genocidal about it, but as bloody hell, he'd make Stalin look like an anarchist. Oh, you're a counter-revolutionary. I'm fucking killing you. I'm killing you. I'm killing you.
Trotsky would have started a second Polish-Soviet war in like the
Like,
mid-30s.
The funniest
and
thing,
he
though,
would have won.
He would have won.
Remember that Lenin, he begged Lenin not to make him the hegemon, like the
Yeah.
figurehead, because he was Jewish. Because like they will use this against us. You have.
They will lynch us. Like, to quote him himself, they will lynch us, they will tear every fabric from this country and burn every human being alive just to kill us. And I think he was right.
Oh,
Like, I think
he
that
obviously was fucking right.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
I like how Stalinists say that Trotsky was a Nazi collaborator, but if anything, Molotov. Or
You wanna know what? Yeah, and you wanna know how they fucking argue this? This is the best part.
Because of that East Prussian false radio station.
It's better. It's better. The most common thing I see is, so during the Spanish Civil War, the NKVD fabricated some shit and was like, Trotskyists were collaborating with Nazis, and that's why Trotsky was a Nazi collaborator. He wasn't even down there. He had nothing to do with the poem.
Which wasn't even Trotskyist.
Yeah, but they called it Trotskyists because they didn't like the PCE.
Anything that's not us is Trotskyist, is basically.
Remember
basically
that Grover Furr has the idea that they didn't say he wasn't, so he was.
Hey, Dip
That
Dab,
sounds
could you
like
do
some
me a
hierarchy.
favor? Could you come into my server more often? And anytime someone brings up Grover Fur to me, could you just fucking smack him? Like, please?
I want you to. No. All I have to ask is, what does Grover Furr have a degree in? You ask that. That's all you have to ask, because he has a degree in medieval English literature, not Soviet
Nice.
history.
What's the difference?
No, he has no authority. I don't like throwing around the appeal to authority, but that is quite literally a fallacious appeal to authority. I'd rather listen to my professor, who's a fucking Russian historian, than that, who quite literally told me to my face, yeah, Stalin understood Marx, he just didn't want to believe it. He just used him.
The thing is, both can be true.
My professor said, Stalin understood Marx, but he didn't want to actually use him. He was just a counter-revolutionary. That is from my fucking professor, who studies Russian history.
How would you even know that, though?
I guess it's like the more charitable explanation.
Yeah, the charitable explanation. Or, actually, the less charitable explanation.
Well,
my take is that he was both stupid and vindictive. Like, I think he knew he had no clue he didn't understand anything about communism. He knew that. He knew that he was fucking stupid, but he didn't care.
Yeah.
Because he was in charge of the bureaucracy. Like, who was gonna stop him?
Yeah. Also,
Like,
We've kind of been distracted, haven't we?
yeah, I think we can cut.
We were about to close out.
Yeah.
weren't
Okay,
Yeah.
Peter, do you have anything to say?
The
Samson
plug
option.
is, yeah, Samson option number 1. Number 2, basically, I have like a massive deconstruction of a social and cultural revolution taking place in Japan, and how anime is reflected in that, coming out very soon. Other than that, watch this space for more shit posts, because the longer this pandemic goes on, my meme game is gonna get so much better.
We're all going crazy.
Like-
Yes.
So,
Man, my meme game's gonna get real fucking fire.
and my
Just-
plug is the video comes out probably within a month. Editing is a struggle.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, Dip Tap.
So we'll see you all next week, and yeah.
Have a good one.
Viva Posada, long live Comrade High Commander.